Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Medical Futurist YouTube live session. My name is Dr. Bertalan Meskó. I'm the Medical Futurist, and I welcome you in the whole name of the whole team of the Medical Futurist, 12 dedicated people. And as the Medical Futurist, as you might know, we try to help understand the context around digital health technologies on medicalfuturist.com and its connected channels. We publish content for free on all those channels, so you're more than welcome to join us there too. But in these live Q&A sessions, I hope to have vibrant discussions with you, and it's so great to see already quite familiar faces in the chat. It's great that you are sharing where you are coming from. Welcome everyone again from India, from Germany, Iran, Canada, the US. It's great to see you all there, all here. We have quite an exciting topic for today. It's about the digital health gadgets and devices I like to use that I have tested. I'm looking here because there are many devices around me, and I will share many of these with you in this session. I will test some of those in the live session too, because it makes sense to talk about how digital health devices can contribute to either improving your lifestyle or practicing medicine or healthcare in general. But the point of these sessions is to have a discussion with you. So if you have a question live, please feel free to share. And again, welcome people from Nigeria, Paris, India, Chicago, Bangladesh, Atlanta, South Africa. It's such a great international community. So it's amazing to see you all here. Welcome again to the Medical Futurist live Q&A session. And Michael Neuvert, welcome back to the show. I hope you are doing great. And you had the first question today. Do you think there will be a wearable device that shows if the wearer has COVID in real time? What a great question. To make sure that you have a COVID confirmation, you need a laboratory test. I don't see any wearable being able to bring that confirmed result through as a wearable device. But there are some wearables that might be able to predict if someone might have COVID in a few days. I think we even shared a study this morning from Mount Sinai Research Center, where they came up with a study about how an Apple Watch measuring heart rate variability was able to predict if the user of the watch might have COVID in the next few days. There was a significant difference between the patterns they saw with patients with the heart rate monitor watch before COVID and after COVID. So we might use these devices for that purpose. Like here is this pulse oximeter that I'm sure many of you have seen before. It's pretty easy to use, but it's much more useful during an infection to monitor the oxygen level of the blood. Let me show it to you in action. It's pretty simple technology. This is my heart rate, and it also shows the oxygen level in my blood, which is now 99%. Amazing. And that's it. So I don't see how a wearable would be able to give a confirmation about the COVID test result. Mohammed Bakhshpur, just wanted to say thank you, doctor, for all this beneficial free content that you and your team provide. Of course, it's our pleasure. We love creating content for you. So of course, if you are interested in specific topics, just let us know and we will focus on those next. Ankur Shrivastava, I'm a BMA student and I'm learning a lot from you. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Mohammed also has a question, where do you study? I finished my studies at University of Debrecen in Hungary, where I got my medical doctor degree. And I also finished my PhD there in English, of course, not in Hungarian. And now I teach at the Semmelweis Medical School in Budapest, Hungary, as I've been in Budapest for more than a year now. I'm sure you remember when we talked about this in one of the last streams of 2020, that 2021 is going to be a harder year than 2020 was. We know how hard 2020 was. But in 2020, there was not much hope. We just waited for something to happen, a miracle to happen, a vaccine to become available. And while there is no hope, you can quite sit around and wait. But when there is hope, and you see that the vaccine rollout is going on in many countries, in Israel, they have vaccinated about 40% of the population. In the UK, they vaccinated more than 10 million people. In the US, it's almost 40 million now. It's going on, but we still stay at home. There are still lockdowns and curfews, and the situation is even getting worse. So this year is going to be harder, really more challenging than the last year, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel now. So we will get vaccinated and it's gonna end. All right. Naveed Masood had a question about how can we leverage the digital tech to gain more vaccine adoption? What an amazing question to ask. Let me share this with others too. It's an excellent question and a hard one because for vaccine rollout, what you need is the lack of reluctance from people to get vaccinated. You need them to be ready to get vaccinated. And you can only see that happening if you have people who have enough information to make an informed decision. People whose opinion is influenced by medical professionals and scientists and researchers, and not by the general media or fake news or misinformation. So in this sense, digital tech doesn't have an attractive role in that, but it has an amazing role to play in this process, providing the right kind of information, the right quality of information about vaccinations, vaccines, vaccination programs, and so on. And just a note here that I've been receiving questions through the Eventbrite website. People who register for the event, for the free event today, they can ask questions in advance. And many of those people ask me questions about when will COVID-19 end or how can the COVID-19 end. I just wanted to make sure, I'm not a public health specialist, but I have enough information as a researcher to make an informed decision here. There is a logical line that the pandemic ends when the virus becomes endemic. It's going to be part of our viruses that we have, like how the Spanish flu after the 1918 terrible catastrophe became part of the normal flu strain we get vaccinated against every year. So it must become endemic. It can only become endemic if it goes through like 90% of people. It can only go through most of us if we can meet each other. And for that, we have to lift restrictions and lockdowns. We can only lift restrictions and lockdowns if we don't overwhelm healthcare. We don't put too much pressure on healthcare by bringing too many sick people of that disease into the healthcare system. We can only avoid doing that if we can go through, if the virus can go through us, but we are vaccinated. So even though I get the virus, I'm infected, I won't get a major serious condition or illness, or I won't die because of the infection. And we can only achieve that if we are vaccinated. So as we published a pledge at the Medical Futurist website a while ago that we will get vaccinated with any kind of vaccine that is approved by the European Medicines Agency, because we are based in Europe, I suggest to you, I advise you to follow the same rule and get vaccinated so we can leave COVID-19 behind. If you want to wait around to see if these new vaccines cause any complications, you might have to wait 5-10 years, but until then, COVID is going to be a part of our lives. I just wanted to put this on the table and start discussions from here. Chirag Motwani has a question in the live session. What are the emerging technologies in the field of medical imaging? Well, in medical imaging, far the most exciting trend is using artificial narrow intelligence, mostly for improving diagnostics. So if you use deep learning for analyzing images, you can feed the AI with a huge amount of data, a huge amount of CT scans, which have been annotated by radiologists, whether the patient had lung cancer or not. And if you feed millions of these annotated images into an AI algorithm, then the algorithm can get really good at diagnosing lung cancer based on CT scans. But for that, you need a lot of data from patients. So it's a sort of breach of privacy. And you need annotated data, meaning that you need medical professionals to sit around in dark rooms and annotate data manually, scan after scan, thousands of scans day by day, to make sure that the AI that we produce will be able to provide a good enough quality. Wow, Saurabh Singh has an amazing question about GDPR, the topic we all love and hate. With the introduction of GDPR, how are the wearable companies moving forward in terms of sharing the data with patients? Well, first of all, any company can share data with anyone if the users of that company or the customers of that company click on confirming that they acknowledge the GDPR rules of the company. When you subscribe to the newsletter of the Medical Futurist, you have to click on that, you accept that GDPR is in place here, and that we won't sell your data to third parties. We only keep your data or store your data that's useful for us to send you the newsletters, but you acknowledge all these. So if a wearable company, a company producing a wearable device has the same rules in place, and when I sign up and I buy the wearable, I can click on I acknowledge that rule, then of course they can share data with me, but they cannot share my data with third parties unless I give them written consent, which is rarely the case. Osama Hassan has a question that comes up, I think, in every stream. It's like the holy grail of questions. Can artificial intelligence replace physicians? It cannot, because being a physician is a really complex job, and artificial narrow intelligence is only great at performing very well-defined single tasks. I'm not saying that it's not going to be possible to replace a range of these single tasks a physician does every day. It's going to be possible, but being a physician is more of a social, it has a social component. We have to provide empathy for the patient and compassionate care. We have to build trust. And to build that through an algorithm, I'm not sure it's possible because of what kind of social beings we patients are. So I don't think it's going to happen in the next decades or so. But in that sense, we have published analysis, a free analysis about the impact of automation on medical specialties. There's an infographic here that you can check out yourself. We put the 20 most popular medical specialties on this infographic that has two trend lines. In one line, you have two things, how creative versus how repetitive a job is. And the other one is how interaction-based versus how data-based that medical specialty is. And based on that, we created 4 groups. And let me just share the link with you, which you will see. I mean, you will see the comment before I talk about that because of the delays of the stream, but still, you will get it quite soon. Okay. Okay, there are some great questions left. Before I jump into it, I just wanted to show you a few things because I have so many gadgets around me that I want to share with you. I'm a geek at heart. I love using these gadgets. Some of them I use daily because why not? And I want to obtain data about my lifestyle so I can bring it to my primary care physician who is a partner in this, and we together create a preventive plan. And I guess this is the most famous device, the Viatom Check Me Pro, with which I can do a daily check, which is a 1-channel ECG, and there is a blood oxygen level monitor. Let's try again. All right. Oh, there is an error. I don't know why. This is the oxygen saturation. I guess I haven't charged it enough. That's gonna be the problem. Give me a second here. Oh, I only have about 20 gadgets around me and 25 micro USB cables. So I have to find a solution to make it work. Now, I will charge it and I will show it to you later. But until then, I can show you we shot videos today in the studio about where are the high-tech blood pressure sensors. You know, sensors like a blood pressure cuff that you can just wear on your wrist and do a blood pressure measurement like, come on, like this. It's pretty easy to use, but you have to lift your arm to the level of your heart to make it accurate. Then Omron, you know, the big manufacturer of medical devices, came up with the Omron's smartwatch that can measure blood pressure. I mean, it does measure blood pressure, but you have to stop for a few minutes. You have to, you know, have the arm on your wrist. You have to elevate it to the level of your heart and then spend like half a minute, 1 minute to measure blood pressure. Plus, this is a big enough smartwatch to knock someone out accidentally. Just look at this. This is really huge. It's not comfortable to wear it day by day. And then the newest trend is about combined devices. A device that can, this is a blood pressure cuff, but it can also measure ECG and heart rate. The Viatom Arm Fit Plus. And one of my newest favorite gadgets, the Withings BPM Core, no, this way, which is a normal blood pressure cuff with an ECG built in, and here is a digital stethoscope. It's pretty neat. So in like half a minute, I can measure my blood pressure with my heart rate. Then I have to touch this metal part here. It does an ECG. And in the meantime, it also measures and records my cardiac and lung sounds. It's, I think this is the device of the future, to use such a connected device and all these portable diagnostic elements in one tool. Going back to the questions, how do I maximize the Apple Watch capabilities? Man, I really don't know how to do that. I don't have an Apple Watch because simply I love watches that I don't have to charge every day. I have a Withings watch and I charge it like once every month and it's still enough. But I guess you want to use the smart sleep alarm. That's a pretty neat feature, even with the Apple Watch. It does an ECG and fitness tracking, but I don't see how you can maximize its capabilities besides these. John Barnes has a pretty good and long question, and I will just copy here the first part of it and read the rest. So continuous data is very different to traditional point measurements in medicine. Until we baseline the new normal, this will be a barrier to adoption. So how can we drive the new baselines across TAs? I guess, I mean, we could expect the solution to come from health IT and medical professionals or those who work on improving the medical practices, but I don't see that happening. I measure data continuously. I have devices that can measure data continuously, and I bring that data as a report to my primary care physician. And we have to find a way to include that kind of data into the medical record system. It's not professional, I know. It's not standardized in any ways, I know. But I'm the driving force as an empowered patient. I'm the driving force in this process. And if I have to wait for a provider to make it happen, I'm very pessimistic about that. And it will take years until few providers might be able to solve that. Until then, I will keep bringing my continuous data, trends, and reports to my primary care physician. I'm afraid that's the case for most patients too. All right. Have you come across any portable device for MRI scans? Unfortunately not. So I think CT scans and MRI scans will remain quite big in the future. Ultrasound is a different thing. I've tested about 3 portable ultrasound devices, and I will get one now with the built-in artificial intelligence guidance. So with ultrasound, it's becoming part of point of care. But for CT and MRI scans, I don't see the advanced technologies or technological breakthroughs that can make it happen. Hansel S has a question about robotics. Do you think the majority of surgical procedures will be fully robotic? I don't think so. If you've ever been to an operation or you've seen surgeons operate on other people, you see how complex that job is. I see surgical robots being used in very specialized, focused interventions, like in ophthalmology, in eye surgeries. But otherwise, it's part of a surgeon's job. I don't see how these robots could replace what surgeons do, but I do see how these robots could contribute to what surgeons do, or in a way, augment their physical and cognitive capabilities. But I think that's the place for advanced technologies. You are handsome. Thank you. That's very kind of you. That's the reason why I woke up today, to get this comment on a YouTube live session. You made my day. Thank you for that. Adam Schmidt. Hi. Nice to meet you here, Adam. Budapest, of course. What is the reason? Oh, let me share the question with you all. It's a bit too long question. What is the reason that the devices for clinical practice, like digital stethoscope, ECG, are not used widely enough? Maybe doctors. Give me a second here. No, I cannot improve that. So yes, there is a reluctance from physicians. There is a lack of knowledge about these devices from patients. There is a lack of understanding about the changes these devices bring into the practice by policymakers. So I think instead of finding out which stakeholder might be the reason for not adopting these devices faster, I think we should focus on how to make it happen, and that's through the driving force that's coming from patients. So I know what kind of doctor you are. You are a good example, and maybe you should transmit the messages that made you rethink your model, why you became adaptive of using these technologies to your colleagues. So you can start evangelizing the idea that with more data might come better decisions. And by involving your patient as a member of the medical team, it might be beneficial for you too. So we need examples like you, and I think practical cases through which we can persuade reluctant physicians that this is about making your job better. This is about improving what you already do, not replacing any of the things that you do every day with these gadgets and devices. All right. Steven Cangiano, I hope I pronounced your name properly. What a beautiful and interesting question. Physician I work with wants to build an AI office assistant that listens, takes notes and orders prescription schedules. And is this even possible? It is. I don't think your physician partner or the physician you work with can make it happen. I'm not, no offense here, but it's such a gargantuan job to fulfill. But there are examples for that already on the market. There are voice to text applications through which specifically aimed at doctors creating medical records. So while they are speaking, these apps can listen to those conversations and write down what's important. And physicians only have to confirm at the end if this is the thing that has to be written down. There are chatbots that can help patients make appointments with their physicians. So there are already existing solutions for that. Why do they want to build something new? Why this is such an almost impossible job to make, and there are dozens of existing applications for that already. Hi, Withings. Nice to see you here, and thank you for the amazing blood pressure cuff and combine device. Swagata Chakraborty has a question about privacy, one of my favorite topics ever. Who will control the individual patient data? It depends on which country we are talking about, what kind of medical specialty or intervention, what kind of medical condition. But in an ideal way, I should be the one as a patient controlling my own data. But my data can be found in the old norm, the traditional hospitals and institutions, in my medical records. In many cases, I can't even access those records. My data can be found on many companies' databases, having these devices, doing genetic tests that I used, and so on. And some of my data can be found somewhere, through apps using artificial intelligence and so on. But I should be the one controlling it, but I'm afraid we are not in control. That's why we released an ebook 2 months ago about privacy in the world of digital health, and I highly encourage you to check that out. We worked so much on that ebook. Saurabh Singh has another question about digital biomarkers. Digital biomarkers is an upcoming field. What are some of the challenges in digital biomarker research to get adopted by the industry? For those who are not familiar with digital biomarkers, in clinical trials where we test medications and new drugs, what you do is you find out what kind of vital signs or clinical outcomes you should measure about patients who get the drug or not in the placebo group, and then you make a decision after you obtain so much data. But with digital biomarkers, you could actually obtain data continuously in a live way, real time, about patients, and you could make decisions about approving drugs or rejecting them again in real time. This is an amazing opportunity to make drug approvals much quicker processes. But the challenges include a low adoption rate of the industry. Pharma companies are reluctant to be using digital biomarkers. There are not many standardized devices that can measure such biomarkers in an efficient and safe way. And you don't see physicians talking about digital biomarkers with their patients. So maybe there is a lack of general understanding in the two stakeholders of healthcare. Sure, Flora Antali, can you repeat the name of the BPECG sensor, the stethoscope? It's Withings. It's the French company Withings. They were acquired by Nokia a few years back, but then I guess they acquired them themselves back, and now they are producing a new line of digital health gadgets. I have their watch. We have of course, I have to mention that we never accept sponsorship or any kind of support from these companies. We ask for a device. We can't even have calls with the companies. I have to have as much information as a general customer. If they have calls with everyone, then of course I'm in. But if of course they're not, then I just want to get a device and no other information. And then we test and review these devices on medicalfuturist.com. If there is something I don't like, I say it out loud. If there's a device I like, I share that as well. So I have a Withings CamWatch. I left my Fitbit behind for one of the reasons that I talked about before. But now I love the Fitbit CamWatch, the Withings CamWatch, and it can measure ECG and heart rate, and it has a smart sleep alarm. And I charge it like once every month. It's really mind-blowing. Will you consider AR, VR in medicine as a part of medical imaging? I'm not sure how. I mean, there are like in preoperative planning, when surgeons try to prepare, what kind of circumstances, environment they will see when they start the operation on the patient. Some AR, VR devices can help prepare surgeons for that. But in medical imaging in general, I don't see yet how AR, VR could have a significant contribution. Again, in medical education and preoperative planning, these technologies have an amazing place, but not in other fields. All right. Can you take off your glasses? Then I won't see the questions properly. So you don't want me to do that. All right. Let me share some other gadgets with you that I have up around myself. This is a card game I left here. It's called Futures. I will play it once with you, I guess, in one of the next sessions. It's a future game where it's a board game, stylish game, but it makes you discuss things about the future. It makes you ask questions and stuff like that. So it's about transformative storytelling, and I plan to play it with you in one of the upcoming sessions. But I wanted to show you a few other things here. So I showed you the blood pressure cuffs. There are ECGs, like the one from Cardia. This is the evolution that you can see from Cardia. They were called Alive Core before. It was a one-channel ECG, and then they changed their brand name to Cardia. It has become still a one-channel ECG, but now Cardia 6Cell provides a 6-channel ECG. So the way it works is I have to put this metal part to my leg, my left leg, and then this way I hold these two other electrodes, and in this way it creates it does a 6-lead ECG measurement. It also analyzes the ECG, so I have an analysis right away if I have any abnormalities like atrial fibrillation. AFib is quite an important risk factor of stroke, so it's very useful. And I never charge them because they use a battery. So ECG devices are also available. We have one from Hungary called the Vive. It looks like a business card. If I hold it this way with my smartphone app opened up, then it does an ECG in about half minute, 1 minute. It also measures my heart rate and my oxygen saturation, and it provides a really detailed analysis of my ECG. Plus, I can send this detailed ECG measurement to my clinician remotely. So there are now great ECG devices around the world. There are some combined devices, like I tested this one a while back. It's called the Prisma G2. It was designed to be a smartphone bracket. So you can use your smartphone with it. It has, it measures oxygen saturation, heart rate, ECG, stuff like that. But I guess it doesn't work with any kind of smartphone. And there are so many sizes of smartphones these days that I think developing something to act as a smartphone bracket is just not a viable option anymore. Sometimes I come across weird devices like the Smart Fork from a French company called Happy Fork. They had a study showing that if you eat in a more slowly way, then you eat less. So the idea was simple. Let's create a technology that can push people to stop eating so quickly. We don't have time to eat. We just want to grab something, grab a bite very quickly. So we eat fast. And what it does is you can see me this way. So I can turn on the Smart Fork, and with every fork serving, if it's too fast, like one, okay, the second comes too fast, it starts vibrating and there is a red light here. it's really frustrating. Not the technology, I understand the reason for existing, but it's frustrating to learn how fast you normally eat and how slowly you could get the next fork serving and the third one. And it teaches you in a way to change your habits, but it's a frustrating experience because most of us, I mean, I eat quickly. All right. There are some great questions coming through. Wow, actually many. Okay, I'm trying to catch up here. Someone from the medical lead from Roche, Terish Kabelteher, asks a question about implementing these devices. What are the biggest challenges to integrating healthcare technology trends um, into the healthcare system? Not this one. Not this one. I give up. I give up. Reluctance from medical professionals, the lack of knowledge, lack of skills from medical professionals about implementing these. If you don't learn in medical school how to use how to analyze the report from a genome sequencing service the patient brings to you, how can we expect you to make it a part of your everyday healthcare, everyday medicine? Lack of understanding about the possible expectations of patients. They expect a lot more than what they could based on using these technologies. Lack of good policies, making sure that we can use the data from these devices in a safe and sound way. Lack of incentives for physicians to keep on using these. So we have plenty of things to do before we can make it happen. Wow, Leonardo Gross has a question about the number one priority in the WHO's work. What should be our priority number one in research and development if we consider WHO's global digital health strategy? Well, I mean, it should be patient design. Patient design meaning that you involve patients on the highest level of decision making in the company. How else can you make sure that you produce, develop anything useful for them without involving them on that level of decision making, on the C level of the company? So I would strive for patient design. Wow, this question just brings up one of my idealistic visions about the future. What platform do you envision for health optimization? What's the best way to bundle health data and get the most out of it? I remember a while back there was a service called exist.io, and they claim that if I allow them to access the data coming from my different sensors and apps, fitness tracker, smartwatch, sleep sensor, and so on, then after a while, they would come back with insights, advanced insights about my lifestyle. And they did. And they came up with a conclusion, the app, of course, came up with the conclusion that if I take more steps a day if I spend more time walking, which is physically true, but it's not an insight. So I would love to use such services providing advanced insights about my data, but I don't see this happening. I guess artificial narrow intelligence based services might be able to do that. But then comes the problem that many of these companies producing these variables just don't allow others to access the data. So what can I do? I have the data, I have the AI to analyze the data, but I can't connect these two together. Here is a science fiction-like question. Is the future of biosensors more inclined to wearables or micro inner sensors introduced in our body via pills or transplants or lab-produced organs? That escalated quickly. I see the future to be more practical about using wearable trackers to measure obtained data we already have but we cannot access. But to put things into our body, to have a nanobot in our bloodstream, to swallow digital pills, it will require to go through to overcome a lot bigger hurdles than what we have already for just wearing a wearable smartwatch or health tracker obtaining data. So it's really far along the line. Kodasmon has a question about improving lifespan. I'm passionate about whatever technology that can prolong human lifespan. Please have a talk about this matter. I assume you might think that now I would talk about longevity and drugs and medications and treatments that could treat aging as a medical condition. But I don't see longevity without a revolution on digital health. It's just impossible that you stay healthy for 70 years, but then your lifespan will depend on what kind of reverse aging drugs you will take. I don't see that happening. I see that if I access my data, I simply have a better chance to live a longer and healthier life. If I have a partner physician in analyzing that data, it's one more point for having a chance for a longer and healthier life. So I'm really curious here, Chet. What kind of things do you do today? Not in 10 years. What kind of things do you do today that you think might give you a chance for a longer and healthier life? I'm really curious about that. In the meantime, while you are texting the answers, I measure vital signs and health parameters from time to time. I had my genome sequenced. I have a partner primary care physician, so we have designed a preventive plan. So we work hard on trying to catch anything that happens as early as possible or prevent them from happening. But I'm really curious to see what you think gives you a chance for a long and healthy life. If it's a technology, name it. If it's the access to care, if it's your amazing physician, let me know. I can't wait to see your answers. In the meantime, Raymond Cusco asks about which one is your favorite gadget you frequently use. The Withings watch is the one that's on my arm 24 hours a day. And I do an ECG like once or twice a month. I use a polar strip on my chest when I go to exercise. I do functional training, and it gives just more detailed analysis than any smartwatches. Maybe I measure blood pressure once a month, and now I use the Withings device for that. But otherwise, I don't use gadgets every day. There's no reason for that. If I had a medical condition, I might be able to use them for that. But until then, I feel fine. I just measure these major vital signs, once in a while. Mr. Drymond, what do you think about Neuralink, Elon Musk's newest toy? No, this way. Well, I hope he's right. I hope that his team is doing the right thing. I just don't like how he always overclaims what his companies can do. I understand it's about money and investment. I understand that, but this thing is different. This is about neuroscience. This can be very dangerous and sensitive. If they can make those microchips work in human tissue, that might open up a vast range of opportunities for treating Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, but that's quite far along the line. Again, let's hope that those researchers do the right thing. And when Elon Musk gave the speech about Neuralink the first time, and he had his researchers standing next to him, and he said something amazing, something he overclaimed, his researchers immediately started to take it back, to smooth it out. And I love that fact that they are there and they are researchers and they have the chance to make it happen. Wow. Iken has a great question that I want to share with you all. There's a, give me a second here. I just can't accept the fact that you can't see. Ha! There's opinion that patients, customers don't always know what they need. Sometimes developments need to be producer driven. What do you think about that? I understand that. How would patients know what kind of medical breakthroughs they could use in their disease or health management? I understand that. I'm not saying that we should listen to them to find out what to work on next. I'm just saying that it's almost impossible to come up with a process, treatment, technology, development without involving them after the breakthrough was made. To make that breakthrough into a real life product, you need to have their voices heard. That's why patient design is so crucial. But of course, for finding out what to focus on in R&D, you only need great researchers and developers and innovators, but not patients per se. What do you think about COVID-19? I think it's an awful pandemic. I think I'm fed up with being at home or in the studio, and I haven't traveled for more than 12 months now. I guess I won't even travel in the next 6 months or so. Um, I think COVID-19 has been a sort of mild pandemic compared to what we might have in the future. It has shown that we are not prepared. Now we will be better prepared, but we have to change so many things to make it happen that I'm a bit pessimistic. But maybe, just maybe, we have learned enough that the next time we will act a bit faster. We will rely on the use of technologies, on artificial intelligence to predict the next outbreak, on artificial intelligence to deliver, to change the supply chain, organize equipment across countries and populations. We will rely more on at-home lab tests, so we can allow patients at home to do these COVID tests or COVID antibody tests, not to go to a lab to get exposed to the infection. I think next time we can rely on telemedicine much more because telemedicine will be the new norm. And it's going to be quite normal, routine for us to talk to a physician through a video conferencing tool. So the next time, maybe we will use technology in the right way. But right now, I'm still a bit pessimistic about what the outcome might be. So Michael, thank you for the question about what do you do to have a long and healthy life. Michael eats superfoods, exercises, cuts down sugar, stays positive, and avoids stress. These are great things to do. Yeah, and I guess measure data along the way. Here's a question about AI. Pretty good question. I love focused questions. Do you think AI will have a power to predict organ failure or the chance of organ failure to help controlling it? Absolutely. This is one of the areas where artificial narrow intelligence has been shown to be very useful. I've seen retrospective studies like Google DeepMind came up with a study about a year ago where they tried to predict based on medical records and data about patients, lab tests and such, whether the patient might have acute kidney disease, acute kidney failure in 48 hours from the point of measuring those data sets. And it worked well, but retrospectively. So I guess it was fed with clean data, and clinical life is never clean, it's diverse. So the future is about using these artificial narrow intelligence algorithms to use to check medical records, lab test results, and family history, and try to predict if that patient might have an organ failure, might have a negative clinical outcome in 24, 48 hours, and maybe work with those patients a bit more to avoid that happening. It's a pretty interesting thing. Adam Schmidt has a question about reimbursement. Here it is. Do you think that remote care services, devices will be reimbursed for treating or follow up chronic health diseases like in diabetes? That's the only way forward. I mean, this is the example that we've seen in other countries like Germany and the US, where they do reimburse the use of these devices because these devices play an active role in the disease management of patients. And if it contributes to their care, then it's going to be reimbursed. It's simple as that. If you have policymakers who understand the importance of using such devices in disease management. What do you think the coronavirus until now? I'm not sure what you think about what you mean by that. How until now? I just talked about COVID-19 in general. Can you please elaborate on what you meant by that? Suphodip Mukherjee, I'm sorry for pronouncing your names not in a correct way. I have a name that's hard to pronounce too, so I'm really sorry about that. The question is about, could you recommend a good book or reading material on how quantum computing can transform healthcare in the future? Yes, I can. We published quite a good analysis, a long one, about the role quantum computing can realistically play in the future of healthcare. And in that article on the Medical Futurist site, I'm sure that our editor-in-chief, Judith Kusko, who is on a chat with you right now, can include the link. The article is about what quantum computing can bring realistically to healthcare, and it's full of books and materials and even videos where you can read more about that topic. It's quite a fascinating area. Adam Schmidt, yeah, as well, absolutely. I think one of the most famous examples about reimbursing an application took place in Germany, where they found out that if they put a diabetes application next to a diabetes medication, then that combination is simply working better through a better compliance with patients. So healthcare providers pay more for those combination device app groups or packages than just the medications themselves coming from other companies. So absolutely, if it's proven through evidence-based medicine that apps can contribute to care, providers will pay more for that because it's more cost effective for them to pay a bit more for a medication application combination than just the medication, than to have a patient with a low level of compliance getting hospitalized later on due to side effects of that medication. I love how diverse the questions are. Some questions are so realistic about reimbursement and what's happening now. Other questions are like about the far future. Will there be any aftermath on people with bioprinted organs? Well, the plan is that, I mean, we can't bioprint organs as of today. And I follow the trend quite closely. I don't see how it could be possible in the next 5 or 10 years, but it's already possible to print out tissues, living tissues like liver tissue or synthetic skin or bone tissue. Just shot a video today about printing out bone tissue. So that's going to be possible. And when they print it out, they will use stem cells from the patients who will receive those tissue transplants or implants. So hopefully it will not lead to rejections, but it will lead to evidence-based way of implanting bioprinted living tissues into patients. Oh yes, Flora, you are right. I haven't checked the Viatem device. Let me check if it works now.
Hold device and rest on table.
All right.
Finger. Keep device at heart level.
It has an error still, and I don't see why. Not even the
sensor on temple. Click button.
At least body temperature is working. It's 36.5. But the other parts don't work. I don't know why. I will contact the company about that. It's one of my favorite devices, so it's such a shame that it doesn't work. I give it one more second. No, error 4. I give up. All right. So we have time for a few more questions. Where do we get online AI training? There are amazing courses. If you go to deeplearning.ai, you will find an amazing course about using deep learning, machine learning for healthcare purposes. If you go to coursera.com, you will find similar courses. And then if you go to Stanford and Harvard medical schools websites, you will find courses which are quite expensive, but are also quite good. How to reduce AI bias? It's an excellent question. By knowing about it. So for those who are not familiar with bias in AI, if the algorithm gets as good as the data you feed it with. If the data has bias issues in it, like you want to find out if I can tell by looking at someone's profile picture if they are a scientist or not, by feeding the algorithm with all the scientist profile pictures of the last 200 years, then the algorithm will think that women cannot be scientists because there won't be many women scientist profile pictures in the dataset. So the data is biased indeed. But if we know about this issue, if developers think about this issue in advance, then they can clean those parts of data that might cause bias later on. So it's about awareness coming from human developers behind artificial intelligence. All right, a few more things here. There are digital health devices for measuring vital signs and health parameters. And then there are other gadgets such as food sensors. I hope this one is going to work. This is called the NEMA. This is a triangle, a food sensor that can check your food for peanut content. So if your food contains peanut, then it can check it out. There is this little thing here. This is the testing tube. You think I can open it up? Well, you are wrong. So here it is. I have to unscrap the tube, put my food sample into it, close it again until it clicks. I have to put it inside the device, like, not yet. Okay, so click, put in the device, click OK, and in about 2.5 minutes, it confirms if that food sample contains peanut or not. And Nima also has a gluten sensor that's very similar to this one, but I think it's orange, not purple. Purple stands for peanut. Orange stands for gluten. It's an excellent and quite science fiction-like device. And I have many things here. An alcohol breathalyzer. I can show you more examples than I thought I could in a second, because we just published an updated infographic, the body map of health sensors, on which, here it is. So I have tested and used these devices. Here are some for blood pressure measurement, EEG, motion and heart rate, combined devices, breathing, ECG, sleep, ectodermal activity, pulse oximetry. Okay. Not this way. We are getting there. And body temperature, vision, and stethoscopes. And there's a color code next to each device based on which part of the body it should be used. I hope that this infographic is going to be useful for everyone. I just shared the link with you in the comment section. I think these are really good devices and there are good companies behind them. We update this infographic once in a while to make sure it's really up to date about which companies operate still, which devices don't exist anymore, which devices we had to replace with other ones, with better ones. And this is the newest category, combined devices like the Withings BPM core and the Viatom ARM-Fit Plus I showed you in the beginning of the stream. So there you can find all the digital health devices we stand by. All right. What do you think about Amazon in pharma, like PillPack? Good question, Adam. Amazon is marching into healthcare, and as they closed their branch called Haven that they launched with the JP Morgan and Berkshire, it was a sign for me that they want to do it alone. They want to still march into healthcare, but without the help of other investors. They want to do it alone. And by providing healthcare services for their employees in Seattle, in the US, by buying PillPack and by allowing certain medications to be sent to customers through Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure that Amazon will have some big news for us as we are interested in seeing how they can march into healthcare. Hi, Flora. Heart rate variability is definitely something that I have used with some devices. And when you want to measure stress levels in an accurate way, in a detailed, insightful way, then HRV is the thing that you're looking for, not electrodermal activity. And I have used sensors that had ECG, heart rate, motion combined with heart rate variability. And I've seen the most detailed stress and sleep analysis about myself I've ever seen. So HRV has a place, but it's really hard to measure that accurately. It's really hard to analyze that efficiently. So I know about like 3 devices that are used in exercising or for cardiology that use HRV as one of the things that they can measure. Hi Deepak, we will have a session dedicated to the future of the medical professions, the future of careers and insights for medical students. So we will focus on this topic in those sessions. Yeah, Jamil, people should worry about their data of fitness trackers to leak. It's in the game. I mean, if you buy a tracker from a large company, then there's a lower chance that your data will be accidentally leaking to a third party. If you buy a cheaper tracker from a company you don't trust, there is a chance that they sell it to third parties. You just can't tell. So it depends on many things. But when I buy a device from a trustful, reliable, major company with a transparent online profile, I like to believe that I'm in good hands, but obviously it might be never the case. I think we have time for about 1 or 2 more questions. Here is one from Jed Weiner about digital pills. Besides peer therapeutics, who are you following in the prescription digital therapeutic space and why? I used to follow Proteus Health before they went bankrupt and shake the whole business and the lives of investors. But now I follow Etect RX. I even did an interview with them and SmartTab. So there are some great examples of companies that can bring the technology to the market without Proteus Health damaging, destroying everything around them. Saurabh Singh has one more question. Which is the best country to develop research wearable technology in terms of funding talents? I guess those countries where the startup scene is rich enough and the government is supporting it enough that these two can be combined. So you can get access to healthcare data stored in the governmental systems, but you still have enough startups to create innovative ideas in healthcare. Israel comes to my mind first. The US is obviously not another example. The UK, because of the NHS, is a great example. So countries like that. But I also like Germany and Denmark from this perspective. But maybe Israel is the biggest example, the best example in this sense. Thank you for the idea about creating a WhatsApp community. We don't use WhatsApp and we won't even use that in the future. But we have a Facebook page, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and everyone can leave comments there. And we have quite a supportive community. So please feel free to join us on those channels. And we are almost done. So I just wanted to thank you so much for being here with me again and again in these sessions. I really enjoy these vibrant discussions with you. It's very kind of you for asking questions and supporting us, me and the Medical Futurist team. Many thanks to Judith Husko, our editor-in-chief, Balin Benke, who made the video stream happen, who is in the other room right now listening to, making sure everything is right, audio, video, and so on. At the Medical Futurist, you can find all the articles we publish on medicalfuturist.com. We publish articles twice or 3 times a week. We can find analysis about digital health and AI news every single day on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, we publish videos on YouTube. We have a new format called Future Bits, in which in 2-3 minutes we cover one breakthrough idea, one breakthrough news. Like the next one we'll focus on, can we 3D print bone, because there's a new breakthrough in bone 3D bioprinting. And all these things are for free. We still have ebooks and executive summaries on leanpub.com that you can buy if you want to support us. But if you really want to support us so we can keep on producing free content on all those channels, you can become a patron on patreon.com/themedicalfuturist. This way, you not only support us so we can again create free content for our followers, 800,000 followers worldwide, but you also get content we only produce for you. So the patrons on patreon.com/themedicalfuturist receive content every single day that's different from what we produce for others. They get exclusive interviews from the industry. They get analysis from me personally that I don't share anywhere else. And we analyze reports and we have live Q&As with them. So this way you can really support the Medical Futurist team so we can keep on creating good stuff for you all. Thank you so much for being here, Michael, Danish, Adam Schmidt, for all the amazing questions. Thank you for being here from India, from the US, and so many other places. Next time, I will publish together 3 dates for 3 different sessions. We will talk about AI in medicine and healthcare. We will talk about the future of medical careers. And there is a surprise topic I don't want to reveal for now. I hope that you can also make it to the next sessions. This recording will be published in a few minutes on our YouTube channel. Please feel free to subscribe on the YouTube channel so you get all the notifications as well if you click on the notification bell, so you will get all the new videos too. Again, thank you so much for being here and have a great day and see you next time. Bye.